Hannah Murray in the afternoon.
Welcome back to today's show. Joining us on the line now is Annie Capp. She's the author of 2 books and a respected breakthrough coach and therapist. Her latest book, Beyond Goodbye, an extraordinary true story of a shared death experience, talks about how Annie was unexpectedly overcome by the symptoms of her dying mother. Welcome to the show, Annie.
Thank you for having me, Hannah.
Thanks very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm really well today.
Good stuff. Now, this really is an incredible story and very rare, I imagine.
Yeah, it is quite rare in the intensity and the fact that I was so conscious of what was going on. But it does happen. I found out from the experts that people do share in people's passing away. Oftentimes, though, it's more right as it's happened or just after. But mine's quite rare in that I experienced my mother's dying symptoms for about 20-25 minutes from 5,000 miles away while I was working. So while she was, dying and suffocating, I started feeling like I was suffocating and gagging and choking.
Gosh. So when did this happen?
It's actually just 7 years ago, and I've decided on her anniversary that I needed to share the story because a lot happened after she died, which was quite startling, upsetting, confusing to me, and I had to take some time to sort it all out, to figure out what I was going through, because she somehow acted as a catalyst for me to change and my perceptions to change, and she contacted me afterwards, which is something it took a long time for me to admit to people because I didn't want them to think I was going off my rocker or something. But I found it happens to a lot of people who experience death themselves in a near-death experience. They have the same sort of symptoms that I wound up having, although it was my mother who passed away. Yeah.
So what actually happened at the time then?
Well, at the time of her death, she was in hospital. I knew she was in the hospital, but I wasn't able to get a flight over to her. I live in the UK, and she was in the west coast of the States in Portland, Oregon. And I was busy working with a client, and I basically started suffocating, choking, gagging, however you want to describe it. It was quite acute and intense. It just came out of the blue. And I couldn't actually stop it. I remember trying to excuse myself, and I remember going down to our downstairs toilet room to try and cough up whatever it was that was causing this, thinking that I looked a little like a cat with a hairball, and I couldn't clear it, and it kept going. And as I climbed the stairs to go back to my therapy room, realizing I wasn't able to continue, I realized it was my mother, and I urgently was single focused, and I wanted to get this person out of my house and call my mom.
See, how did you? What made you think that it was your mother? Why did you associate it with that?
I started getting just these really sad sensations, and I started, if you will, bawling or crying as I started climbing the stairs to go back to the room. And it was almost like she was crying out to me, saying, you better hurry. In fact, I wound up getting rid of the client, and I admitted, I said, my mom's been in hospital this week, and I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I need to call her. And I asked him to leave, and wound up getting rid of him, so to speak, and got back to the house and dialed her hospital room, and heard in the background of my when my sister answered the phone, I could hear that she was doing the exact thing that I was doing, this very odd wheezing and coughing and kind of gasping for air, which is what had been happening to me. But I just, as I tried to kind of ignore it and clear it out, I got this just intensity come over me and a really extreme urgency and sadness, and I just knew at that time it was something to do with her.
Gosh,
so it wasn't expected to die that soon. It was something that was going to come in the weeks to come.
Yeah. So were you able to then get over there?
I wasn't able to make it. No, as I called my sister and rang the hospital room, they said that she was so surprised to hear from me because she'd phoned everyone in my family. I'm from a large family, and she called everyone to say that the nurses and doctors thought my mom was dying right then, but she didn't have international dialing on her phone, so she wasn't able to call me. So when I phoned after I got back to the telephone, she actually died as I said goodbye to her over the phone.
Oh,
my sister held the phone to her ear, and then she passed away. So I got to be there in a sense because
Yeah.
she connected with me, but I didn't get back till afterwards.
That's amazing, though, that you were, I mean, I guess that happens a lot with people moving to different countries when something sudden like that happens. You're not able to get there in time, which is very sad. But for you to be able to be there over the phone is much better than not at all, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was. I felt very privileged to, number one, to be able to call back in time. And number two, the fact that somehow she contacted me, to say, hey, hurry up, call me, I'm going. So she wanted me there. And, to this day, I don't know whether she thought I was physically in the room when she heard my voice, because I said I loved you, and I said goodbye, and then she passed away just that very instant. So for all I know, she felt she was with me.
Yeah, yeah.
But...
So, when did you start doing the research into it? You wanted to find out whether this had happened to other people, did you?
Yeah, it was this anniversary of her death was the 7th year anniversary, and something really odd started happening again as I started looking for her as I was driving home from my work.